On a frozen Chicago night, a billionaire hears two tiny voices in the snow. Identical twins, shaking, clutch a cardboard sign that reads, "We don't cost much, sir." One sentence shatters his world and forces a choice that will change 3 lives forever. The December wind cut through Chicago like a sharpened blade slipping between glass towers and unfinished construction, biting at any patch of skin it could find. Snowflakes swirled under the street lamps like pale confetti thrown by a city that didn't feel like celebrating. The sidewalks along the lakefront were glazed with ice, and every sound traffic, distant sirens, the hum of elevated tracks seemed muted, as if winter had wrapped the world in thick cotton and told it to stay quiet. Hawthorne moved through it all with the calm precision of a man who lived inside numbers. 38. Self-made. An empire built on algorithms and acquisitions. A name that belonged on buildings, on endowments, on contracts signed with pens that cost more than a week's rent in half the city. He had just left a late meeting, the kind where people argued about millions as if they were loose change. His phone buzzed again, another message, another urgent decision. Dash didn't look. He tucked the phone away and crossed the street, drawn toward the park like a habit he couldn't explain. He told himself it was faster, quieter, cleaner. Then he heard it. A sound so faint he almost dismissed it as wind, 2 small coughs, thin and tight, like paper tearing in slow motion. Dash stopped mid-step. His boots sank slightly into fresh snow. He turned his head, scanning the dim, open space between skeletal trees. There, under a bare oak, stood 2 tiny figures. Not one child. 2. Small as shadows. Identical in shape. Their bodies pressed close together, shoulders hunched against the cold, as if they could share one heartbeat and make it last longer. In their hands was a piece of cardboard, edges curled and soggy letters smeared by snow and trembling fingers. Dash felt the city vanish behind him. All the deals, all the meetings, all the carefully curated distance gone in a single breath. He took one slow step forward, and the night, holding its breath, watched him choose. Dash approached carefully, keeping his pace unhurried, his posture open. The closer he got, the more the details sharpened in the streetlight's glow. The girls were twins, identical 6 at most. Faces pale with cold cheeks, flushed raw eyelashes wet with melting snow. Their coats didn't match, but they shared the same story, hand-me-down fabric, frayed seam sleeves too long. One wore dusty pink with a tired strip of faux fur at the hood. The other wore faded lavender, patched at the elbow with thread that didn't even try to hide its desperation. They had one scarf looped around both of them, wrapped like a fragile bridge between 2 small necks. Their boots were too thin for this weather. Their knees trembled in tiny, stubborn bursts. Dash's eyes dropped to the cardboard sign. The words were uneven, smudged, written as if the marker had run out halfway through. "Hope we don't cost much, sir." His chest tightened so fast it felt like a warning. He'd seen hunger before, fundraisers reports, carefully edited documentaries that ended with donation links. But this wasn't a story on a screen. This was a living, shivering truth in front of him. He stopped a few feet away and crouched, lowering himself to their level, not invading, not towering. His expensive coat darkened at the knees as it absorbed snow. "Hey," he said softly, voice roughened by the cold. "I'm Dash. I'm not here to scare you." The twins stared at him with wide, wary eyes that didn't match their age. Not the curious gaze of children who expected kindness. The measured look of kids who had learned to calculate danger. "What are your names?" Dash asked, slow, gentle. The girl in pink glanced sideways at her sister first, as if waiting for permission. "Luna," she whispered. The girl in lavender swallowed hard. "Sky." Dash nodded, anchoring the moment with something steady. "Okay." "Luna." "Sky. Are you here with an adult silence?" Sky's fingers tightened around the cardboard until the wet edge bent inward. Luna lifted her chin, trying to be brave with a body that wouldn't stop shaking. We're waiting, Luna said. Dash's throat went dry. For who, their eyes flicked toward the dark path beyond the trees, and Dash understood whatever answer lived, there wasn't safe to say out loud. Dash kept his hands visible, palms open, a quiet signal that he wasn't going to take anything, especially not their choice. His breath rose in pale clouds between them, and he noticed how small their breaths were, quick and careful, like they were trying not to waste warmth. "Are you hungry?" he asked. Luna hesitated, pride fighting survival. Then she gave the smallest nod. Sky didn't nod. She just looked down at Dash's coat, at the clean stitching and the heavy fabric meant for winters she'd never afford, then quickly looked away, shame like a reflex. Dash felt something inside him crack, not loudly, but enough to let the cold truth leak in. These weren't kids who asked for toys. These were kids who asked for permission to exist. He glanced around. The park was too open, too quiet. Snow muffled footsteps. Anyone could disappear in weather like this. He did not like that. Not one bit. "Listen," he said, voice careful, calm. "I'm going to offer you something, and you can say yes or no." "Okay." Luna's eyes stayed locked on his face, searching for the trick. "There's a cafe across the street." Dash continued nodding toward the warm glow behind frosted windows. "It's public, it's bright, and it's warm. We can sit inside where other people are around. You can drink hot cocoa, we can talk, and I can call someone whose job is to help kids safely." Sky's lip quivered. "Helpers. Like police, like helpers," Dash answered. "And if police need to be involved for safety, it will be with adults who protect you, not punish you." The twins looked at each other again, silent conversation, twin language, fear braided with hope. Luna pulled the scarf tighter around both of them. Sky pressed closer, like warmth could be transferred by loyalty. Dash didn't rush. He simply waited, steady as a street lamp. Finally, Luna whispered, "We don't want trouble." Dash's voice softened. "You are not trouble. You're children." Sky's eyes glistened. "People don't keep children, if they cost." Dash swallowed hard, forcing his tone to stay gentle. "Then let me tell you something true. Tonight you don't have to earn warmth. You don't have to bargain for food." He extended one gloved hand, not to grab, not to pull, just an invitation. After one last glance into the dark path behind them, Luna took a tentative step. Then Sky. Their tiny fingers brushed his glove light as snowfall heavy as destiny, and together they started toward the light. The cafe door chimed softly as Dash pushed it open, a small sound that felt impossibly loud after the hush of falling snow. Warmth rolled out in a wave, coffee, cocoa, baked bread, and the twins stopped just inside the threshold, blinking as if the light itself needed permission. Dash didn't usher them forward. He stepped aside, giving them room to decide. Inside, a few late-night customers hunched over mugs and laptops. A barista wiped the counter, glanced up, and offered a neutral smile, present but not intrusive. Dash crouched again, keeping his voice low. "We'll sit where you can see the door," he said. "And I won't touch you unless you say it's okay." Luna nodded once. Sky stayed half a step behind her sister, fingers locked into the shared scarf like it was a lifeline. They chose a small table near the window, backs to the wall. Dash sat at the neighboring table, not across from them, so they wouldn't feel cornered. He ordered simply, 2 hot chocolates. Not too hot. Soup and bread, please." Then after a pause, "And water." When the cups arrived, Luna wrapped both hands around hers and sighed without meaning to. Sky lifted her cup, blew carefully, and took the smallest sip possible, eyes widening at the warmth. She smiled, and then caught herself glancing up as if smiles were something that could be taken away. Dash noticed everything. The way they rationed comfort. The way they waited for permission that never came. "Can I ask you something?" he said. Luna looked at Sky first, then nodded. "Do you have a last name, Heart?" Luna answered quickly, as if speed made it safer. Dash repeated it softly. Heart. Thank you. He glanced toward the window. Snow pressed against the glass like a held breath. He thought about the park, too open, too dark, and felt a quiet urgency settle in his bones. I'm going to make a call, he said, standing. I'll be right here. You'll see me the whole time. He stepped a few feet away and dialed, keeping his voice calm and clear. He didn't say billionaire. He didn't say connections. He said what mattered. 2 children. Alone. Freezing. Need immediate help. Public place. We're safe right now. When he returned, Sky was tracing a circle in spilled cocoa with her finger. Luna had torn her bread in half and pushed the larger piece toward her sister without comment. You didn't leave, Sky said, surprised. Dash shook his head. I said I wouldn't. The rule settled between them, small, fragile, and powerful. Minutes passed in a careful quiet. The cafe hummed gently around them, a protective cocoon of ordinary life. Dash watched Luna's shoulders loosen by degrees, watched Sky's knees stop bouncing. He let the silence do its work. Are you cold now? He asked. Luna shook her head. Not inside. Sky glanced at the cardboard sign leaning against the chair leg edges darkened with melted snow. She reached for it instinctively, then hesitated. Dash noticed. You don't have to hold that in here. Sky swallowed. We should. Why? Her voice dropped to a whisper. So people know. Dash's chest tightened. He chose his words carefully. People should know because they look, not because you carry proof. The twins exchanged a look. Then, like a rehearsed confession, they spoke together, voices barely audible over the steam hiss of the espresso machine. We promise we won't eat a lot, and we'll work hard. The sentence hit Dash harder than any negotiation he'd ever lost. For a split second, he turned his face away, jaw clenched, eyes stinging not from the cafe's warmth, but from something raw and unguarded breaking through years of armor. He faced them again, steadying his breath. No, he said firmly, gently. Listen to me. You don't have to promise that. You don't have to earn being warm, or safe, or fed. Sky's eyes filled. But people don't keep kids if they cost. Dash leaned forward, keeping his hands on his knees. Then people are wrong. Tonight you don't cost anything, and tomorrow we make sure the right helpers are involved, so this doesn't happen again. Luna studied him like a judge, twice his size. You're not mad, Mad Dash shook his head. No, I'm concerned. There's a difference. He glanced toward the door as it opened, snow swirling in. A tall man stepped inside and scanned the room, Noah Briggs, Dash's driver and security. Dash caught his eye and gave a subtle nod. Stay calm, stay back. Sky noticed the exchange. Her fingers tightened on the scarf. Dash addressed it immediately. That's Noah. He's with me. He won't come over unless you want him to. Sky considered this, then nodded once. Trust given by inches. Dash's phone buzzed. A message confirmed help was on the way. He set the phone face down. We're doing this the right way, he said. Together. And for the first time that night, Luna allowed herself to believe him. The cafe door chimed again, and this time the cold didn't enter alone. A woman stepped inside with the kind of presence that lowered shoulders without asking. Mid-40s, soft scarf, eyes that paid attention before they spoke. Hi, she said gently, approaching the twins first. I'm Mara Velez. I'm here to help. Dash stayed seated deliberately out of the center. He let Mara take the lead. Luna's gaze flicked to Dash. He nodded once, go ahead. Mara knelt so she was eye level. Can I sit with you? The twins nodded together. Mara didn't ask where they'd been or why they were alone. She asked their names, repeated them, and asked what kind of cocoa they liked. She noticed the shared scarf and asked if it was warm enough. She noticed Sky's cautious posture and didn't comment on it. I want you to know something, Mara said softly. You're not in trouble. My job is to make sure you're safe. Sky's voice trembled. Even if we waited outside, even then, Mara replied. Especially then. Dash felt a slow release in his chest. This was what help looked like. Mara turned to Dash briefly. Thank you for calling. He nodded. I didn't want to rush them. You didn't, she said, approving. A man in a dark coat entered behind her, Detective Rowan Pike. He stayed back, unobtrusive, speaking quietly with Mara. No flashing lights, no raised voices, just process. Mara explained the next steps to the twins with care. We're going to go somewhere warm tonight that's made for families. There will be beds, food, lights that stay on. Tomorrow we figure out more together. Luna's brow creased. Together, yes, Mara said. With adults whose job is to listen. Sky looked at Dash, panic flickering. You're not leaving, Dash answered honestly. I won't disappear. I'll stay involved with Mara. With the helpers. The right way. Sky exhaled a small sound she'd been holding all night. Outside, the snow thickened, but inside the cafe, the world felt steadier. Noah opened the door to the vehicle, keeping a respectful distance. Mara guided the twins, one on each side, explaining every step before it happened. As Luna and Sky climbed in, still holding hands, Luna looked back at Dash. Thank you for seeing us. Dash swallowed. Thank you for trusting me. The door closed softly. Snow swallowed the sound. Dash stood alone for a moment, watching the taillights fade into white. He knew this wasn't an ending. It was a threshold, and he had crossed it willingly. The shelter building stood a few blocks inland, modest and unremarkable from the outside brick practical lights, glowing with quiet persistence against the snow. Inside, the air smelled of clean linen and soup. Dash followed Mara and the twins through the entrance, careful to stay just behind, letting the girls set the pace. Luna and Sky moved like guests, afraid of breaking something invisible. Their hands never separated. At the intake desk, Mara spoke first, her tone steady, practiced. Names, ages, immediate safety needs. The twins answered only when asked, voices, low eyes, tracking every movement in the room. Dash signed funding documents without ceremony, keeping his name out of headlines. His presence deliberately ordinary. He watched the twins from a respectful distance as a staff member brought extra blankets and knit hats. Sky pressed the hat to her chest as if it might vanish. In a small family room down the hall, the twins sat side by side on the edge of the bed, boots still on. They didn't touch the blankets. You can take your shoes off, Mara said gently. Nothing here will disappear if you do. Luna glanced at Dash. He nodded. Slowly, she untied one boot, then the other. Sky followed, copying her movements exactly. When the door closed softly behind the staff, Luna's voice came out in a rush, barely above a whisper. We promise we won't eat a lot, and we'll work hard. The words echoed in the small room, heavier here than they had been in the cafe. Dash felt his chest tighten, a pressure that made breathing feel like work. He crouched, not close but present, and kept his voice low and firm. I need you to hear me. That promise should never have been asked of you. Not by anyone. Sky's eyes filled. But that's how you stay. Mara sat beside them, hands folded. You stay because you're children, because you deserve care. Full stop. Silence stretched. The twins processed it like a language they'd never been taught. Dash added quietly, if anyone ever makes you feel like you have to earn food or warmth again, you tell Mara, or you tell me. Okay. Luna nodded once, sharp and determined. That night, as the twins lay under blankets for the first time in days, Dash stood outside the open doorway, supervised, visible like a sentry, who finally understood what he was guarding. Morning arrived, muted by snow. The shelter's windows glowed pale blue, as staff moved quietly through routines meant to feel ordinary. Dash returned early, bringing nothing extravagant, just fruit notebooks, colored pencils, all cleared through intake. Luna and Sky sat at a small table coloring with fierce concentration. Sky drew a house with no door. Luna drew two stick figures under falling snow, their heads almost touching. Mara noticed first. She didn't comment. She made a note. Dash crouched nearby. Those are good colors. Luna shrugged. They don't run out. A staff member checked records, school enrollment attempts, clinic visits. The twins' last name Hart appeared in fragments never anchored to a stable address. No missing person report. No active guardian on file. That's unusual, Detective Rowan Pike said quietly to Mara. And not in a good way. Dash heard the undertone and felt a slow burn rise in his gut. Not panic, resolve. Mara knelt beside the twins. Can I ask you something, and you can say pass if you don't want to answer? Sky hesitated, then nodded. Is there someone who was supposed to take care of you? Luna's shoulders stiffened. Sky's fingers curled into her sleeve. We were waiting, Luna said again, the same word from the park. People said later. How long? Mara asked gently. Luna looked at the floor. Long. Mara didn't push. She met their eyes. Thank you for telling me what you can. Dash watched the exchange, impressed by what wasn't asked. He knew negotiations. This wasn't one. This was triage of trust. Outside, snow fell harder, burying streets in white. Inside, Dash realized the truth settling like ice. These girls hadn't been abandoned in a single moment. They had been left behind slowly by degrees by adults who always meant to come back. He signed paperwork for legal aid support through the shelter, documented, accountable. No shortcuts. When Luna looked up and asked, "Do we have to leave?" Dash answered honestly. Today, you stay. We figure out the next right step together. Sky relaxed just a fraction, enough to matter. By afternoon, a lead surfaced. A woman had brought the twins to a free clinic months ago, claimed to be an aunt. An address existed, outdated but traceable. Detective Pike moved carefully, requesting a supervised meeting only. Dash felt unease coil tight in his chest. He didn't voice it. He trusted the process and stayed close to the twins without hovering. The meeting room was neutral and bright. Luna and Sky sat side by side, hands linked. Mara positioned herself between them and the door, an unspoken shield. The woman arrived late, smiling too quickly, talking too much. Her eyes skimmed the room, then landed on Dash, lingering, assessing. These are my girls, she said, reaching out. Sky shrank back instantly. Luna's breath hitched. Mara stood. We'll keep hands to ourselves, the woman laughed, brittle. They're shy, Luna's voice cut through, thin but clear. Please, not her. The room went still. Mara ended the meeting immediately. Detective Pike stepped in, calm but immovable. The woman protested, words tumbling over each other, but the twins had already retreated behind Mara, bodies trembling. Dash knelt at a distance, keeping his voice steady. You're safe. Nobody takes you without helpers making sure it's safe. Sky whispered. Breaking, are we expensive now? The question nearly knocked the air from Dash's lungs. He answered without hesitation. You are priceless. That's why we do this carefully. The woman was escorted out. The door closed. Luna buried her face in Sky's shoulder. For the first time, Sky cried openly. Dash stayed exactly where he was, present, not overwhelming, until the shaking stopped. Outside, the storm howled. Inside, a line had been drawn. And Dash knew this story wasn't about rescue. It was about staying. That night, the shelter hummed with quiet routines, doors closing softly, carts rolling, murmured goodnights. Dash stood in the hallway outside the twins' room, hands in his coat pockets, listening to the cadence of their breathing settle into something like sleep. The staff had explained the rules clearly. He followed them precisely. Door open. Staff nearby. No exceptions. Inside, Luna lay on her side, facing Sky, one arm thrown protectively across her sister's chest. Sky clutched the shared scarf now folded neatly at the foot of the bed, as if it were a relic from another life. The blankets rose and fell, slow and even, safe for now. Mara joined Dash in the hall. "You did the right thing today," she said quietly. Dash exhaled. "It didn't feel like enough." "It rarely does," Mara replied. "But staying matters." He nodded, eyes fixed on the doorframe. They asked if they were expensive. Mara's mouth tightened. That sentence didn't come from nowhere. Dash closed his eyes briefly. He thought of boardrooms where people debated headcount cuts like weather patterns, of words that erased faces, of how easily systems could grind small lives into margins. Tomorrow, Mara continued. "We'll formalize temporary placement options, school access, counseling, everything documented." "Good," Dash said. "Do it by the book." She studied him. "That's not always how people with your resources choose to move." Dash met her gaze. "I'm not trying to win. I'm trying not to fail them." Later, driving home through snow-choked streets, Dash felt the strange hollowness of returning to warmth alone. His penthouse lights flicked on automatically. Art gleamed. Silence settled. He didn't pour a drink. He didn't open his laptop. He sat at the kitchen island and stared at nothing. For the first time in years, his calendar felt irrelevant. He canceled the next day's meetings with 2 taps, then a third, then all of them. At midnight, his phone buzzed. A message from Mara. "They're asleep. No nightmares yet." Dash leaned back, a relief washing through him like a held breath finally released. He whispered to the empty room, "I'm not going anywhere." And for the first time, he meant it in a way money couldn't buy. Morning brought a pale, tentative sun filtered through snow clouds. Dash returned to the shelter early, carrying nothing but a paper bag with Apple's granola bars and a stack of notebooks approved by staff. He didn't want to arrive like a miracle. He wanted to arrive like a constant. Luna and Sky sat at a small table with a volunteer teacher, pencils aligned neatly. When they saw Dash, Sky's face lit, then she checked herself, smoothing her expression, as if joy needed supervision. "We're doing school," Luna announced. Dash smiled. "I see that." The lesson was simple letters, counting drawing shapes. The twins worked with fierce, focused tongues tucked in concentration. When the volunteer placed a small gold star sticker beside each of their names, Sky stared at it like it might evaporate. "We got stars," Luna said, proud but cautious. "You earned them," Dash replied. Sky tilted her head. "Do gold stars cost?" Dash shook his head. "Nope. They're yours." She nodded slowly, absorbing a new rule of the world. Mara joined them with paperwork updates. Temporary placement options were narrowing. A structured, supervised plan was possible with court oversight. Counseling appointments were scheduled. School enrollment would be formalized within days. Dash listened, asked questions, signed where appropriate. He never rushed. He never argued. Later, when the twins were coloring again, Mara asked gently, "Can we talk about last night?" Luna's grip tightened on her crayon. Sky leaned closer. "You were very brave," Mara said. "Saying not her helped us keep you safe." Luna swallowed. "If we say things, do we get in trouble?" No, Mara said firmly. "Telling the truth keeps you safe," Dash added quietly. "And if something feels wrong, you say it, even if your voice shakes." Sky nodded. "It shakes a lot." "That's okay," Dash said. "Courage doesn't mean it doesn't shake." Outside, the snow began to melt into gray slush. Inside, something steadier formed a routine. Cocoa after lessons. Check-ins before transitions. Goodbyes that included return times. When Dash left that afternoon, Sky asked, "You'll come back," as he said. "Same time." She considered this, then placed the gold star sticker on her sleeve, as if to keep it close. The following days unfolded in careful steps. Dash attended meetings with Mara and legal aid, listening as timelines were mapped and safeguards outlined. Background checks. home assessments, training, court schedules. There were no shortcuts, and Dash didn't ask for any. At the shelter, the twins began to relax into the rhythm. They learned which doors stayed locked and which led to playrooms. They learned that meals came regularly without bargaining. They learned that adults could say no and still mean care. One afternoon, a winter storm warning flashed across phones. Wind picked up. Snow thickened. The twins grew restless, old fear stirring. Sky tugged at Dash's sleeve. "Is the night going to be loud a little?" he said honestly. "But you won't be alone." Luna looked up, eyes searching. "Do plans change sometimes?" Dash replied. "But this one won't disappear." Mara overheard and smiled slightly. "Plans are stronger when they're written down," she said, tapping her folder. "This one is." That evening, Dash sat with the twins in the common room staff, present doors open, reading from a children's book about a fox who learned to ask for help. Luna corrected his voices. Sky laughed, then covered her mouth, surprised by the sound. When the book ended, Luna asked quietly, "Are we staying?" Dash chose precision over comfort. "You're staying safe, and we're working toward a place that stays safe longer." Sky considered this. "Together, yes," Dash said. "With helpers." She nodded, satisfied. Later, alone in his car, Dash felt the weight of it all, heavy, yes, but right. He wasn't rescuing. He was committing to process, to patience, to presence. As snow pressed against the windshield, he realized the truth settling into his bones. This wasn't about changing their past. It was about refusing to abandon their future, and that more than any deal he'd ever closed was a responsibility he intended to honor. The meeting room on the third floor of the shelter was small, bright, and intentionally plain. No heavy furniture, no sharp corners, a place designed for careful conversations. Dash sat beside Mara, hands folded, listening as legal aid outlined the next phase, a temporary structured placement plan, supervised, documented, reviewed weekly. Across the table, Luna and Sky sat with their feet not quite touching the floor, swinging in quiet sync. They had been given a choice to listen or to color at the side table. They chose to listen. Mara spoke first, keeping her voice slow and clear. "This plan means you'll stay with safe adults. You'll go to school. You'll have doctors and counselors whose job is to help you feel okay." Sky raised her hand halfway. "Do we have to move?" Again, Mara met her eyes. "Not today," Dash added gently. "And when changes happen, you'll be told first." Luna leaned forward. "You won't just decide," no, Dash said. "Nothing about you happens without people whose job is to protect you agreeing it's safe." The legal advocate slid papers across the table, not to the twins, but to Dash and Mara. "If approved by the court, Mr. Hawthorne may act as a long-term sponsor under supervision." Sky frowned. "Sponsor?" Like a sign, Mara smiled softly. "Like someone who shows up and helps make sure the plan works." Luna studied Dash's face with startling seriousness. "You have to come even when it's boring." Dash nodded without hesitation. Especially then, the judge's decision wouldn't come today or tomorrow. But something else happened in that room, something quieter, just as important. Luna said, "Okay, one word." But it wasn't fear talking. It was consent. When the meeting ended, Sky tugged Mara's sleeve. "If we say, 'Stop,' you listen." "Yes," Mara said immediately. Sky nodded, satisfied. As they walked back down the hall, Luna reached for Dash's hand, then paused, checking his face. Dash waited. She took his fingers lightly, like testing ice before stepping out. It held. Dash had negotiated mergers across continents, but nothing prepared him for the first caregiver training session. The classroom smelled faintly of coffee and dry erase markers. Posters on the walls read, "Consistency is safety and children test what they fear to lose." He sat with a notebook open, listening. The instructor spoke plainly. Children who've experienced instability may push limits. Not because they're difficult, because they're checking if you'll disappear. Dash wrote the sentence down twice. Mara watched him from the back, arms crossed, approving. Later that afternoon, Dash joined the twins in the shelter's playroom, staff present, door open. Luna was building a tower of blocks with surgical precision. Sky knocked it over, then froze, eyes wide. Luna stiffened. The room went quiet. Dash remembered the training. He didn't rush. He didn't scold. It fell, he said calmly. That happens. Sky whispered. Am I bad? Dash crouched to her level. No. You're 6, and blocks fall. Luna exhaled, shoulders dropping. Mara observed from the doorway, making a note. That evening, Dash sat through background checks, home inspections, safety reviews. He answered questions without defensiveness. He welcomed scrutiny. He wanted this to be solid, unbreakable. When he returned to the shelter the next day, Sky ran 2 steps toward him, then stopped herself. Dash smiled. I'm here. She considered this, then completed the distance, handing him a crayon drawing. 2 stick figures stood inside a square with a door, above it a sun. What's that? Dash asked. Our room, Sky said, with a lock. Dash swallowed. That's a good lock, Luna added, matter of fact. So the cold can't come in. That night, Dash lay awake, replaying the words from training and from the twins alike. He understood now, showing up once wasn't kindness. Showing up again was commitment. The court hearing arrived on a gray morning. Snow had melted into slush, the city's edges softer, messier. Dash wore a simple suit, no flash, no performance. Mara sat beside him, legal aid on the other side. The twins waited in a nearby family room with a counselor coloring quietly. Inside the courtroom, the judge reviewed reports with measured care. Stability plan, safeguards, oversight. Dash answered questions directly. Why are you pursuing this role? The judge asked. Dash didn't reach for rhetoric. Because I saw them. And once you see children like that, you don't get to pretend you didn't. The judge nodded, once unreadable. The decision wasn't final, nothing was. But the order was clear, temporary placement approved with ongoing review and support. When Mara delivered the news, Luna didn't cheer. She asked, do we still have helpers? Yes, Mara said. All of them. Sky's brow furrowed. Do we still have to promise not to eat a lot? Dash crouched in front of them, voice steady. No promises like that, ever. She searched his face. Even if we're hungry, especially then. Luna took Sky's hand. Okay. That evening, as they packed a small bag, approved clothes, favorite drawings, Sky hesitated at the doorway. Do we come back? She asked, glancing at the shelter. Mara answered gently. This place is still here. And so are we. Dash added, and so am I. Sky nodded, then stepped forward. Outside, the air was cold, but no longer cruel. Dash opened the car door, waited, explained each step. The twins climbed in together, shoulders touching. As the city slid past the windows, Luna whispered something Dash almost missed. Thank you for not leaving. Dash closed his eyes briefly, then answered with the only truth that mattered. I'm staying. Dash's townhouse stood on a quiet, tree-lined street, its lights warm but restrained, no grandeur, no spectacle. Inside, everything had been prepared by the book. Child safety locks, night lights in the hallway, twin beds spaced evenly apart, matching blankets folded with care. Nothing excessive, nothing overwhelming. Mara walked through, first clipboard in hand, checking each detail. This works, she said. Remember predictability first. Dash nodded. I won't improvise. Luna and Sky entered slowly, shoes lined up neatly by the door without being asked. They moved like guests in a museum, eyes darting, cataloging exits, counting rules they hadn't yet been told. This is your room, Dash said, standing at the threshold, not crossing it. You decide when to go in. Sky peered inside. It's 2. Yes, Dash said. 2 beds. Same size. Luna stepped in first, sat on the edge of one mattress, pressed her palm down. It doesn't sink. Sky tested the other. Mine doesn't either. Mara smiled faintly. That's a good thing. Dinner was simple: pasta, vegetables, bread. Dash served equal portions and waited. The twins stared at their plates. We can stop if we're full, Sky asked. Yes, Dash said. And you can ask for more. The words hung in the air, unfamiliar. Luna took a bite, then another. Sky followed. Slowly the tension in their shoulders eased. Later, as the house settled into quiet, a sudden gust rattled the windows. Sky stiffened. Luna reached for her. Dash knelt a few feet away. The house makes noise sometimes, he said calmly. It's still safe, Sky whispered. It won't forget us. Dash met her eyes. I won't. Mara observed, then quietly excused herself for the night, reminding Dash of the check-in call schedule. Rules, structure, safety. As the twins climbed into bed, Luna asked, Do we lock the door? Yes, Dash said. And you keep the key. He placed it on the nightstand where they could see it. When the lights dimmed, Sky spoke into the dark. Good night, Dash answered from the doorway. Good night. I'm right here. And for the first time, sleep came without bargaining. Morning light crept in, gently filtered through curtains chosen for calm. Dash was already awake, reading the placement guidelines again, like a vow he refused to forget. He moved quietly, making breakfast simple and visible, no surprises. Luna appeared first, hair-tangled eyes, cautious. Sky followed, clutching her pillow. Good morning, Dash said. They nodded, still deciding what mornings meant here. At the table, Sky accidentally knocked over her cup. Water spilled across the placemat. She froze, eyes wide, breath caught. Dash remembered the training. It's water, he said evenly. We wipe it up. Sky didn't move. Luna whispered, I can fix it. Dash slid a towel across the table. We can fix it together. Sky's shoulders loosened by a fraction. They wiped the spill slow and careful, no voices raised, no penalties assigned. Later, while Mara checked in by video call, the twins played in the living room. Luna lined up toy cars by color. Sky mixed them deliberately. Luna tensed. Sky watched her testing. Dash spoke from the doorway, neutral. Different ways to play are okay. Luna exhaled. The cars stayed mixed. That afternoon, the twins asked their hardest question yet. What if we're too much? Sky asked. Dash didn't rush the answer. Then we talk, and we get help. Being too much doesn't make you disappear. Luna studied him. Even if we cry, especially then. That evening, the wind picked up again. Old fear crept back. Sky's voice shook, the nights loud. Dash sat nearby, not on the bed, not hovering. The house is loud sometimes. I'll check the doors. He did slowly, visibly, then returned. You can sleep, he said. I'll be awake. They believed him, not completely, but enough. When the lights went out, Luna whispered, We didn't promise anything today. Sky added, almost surprised, and we ate. Dash smiled in the dark. That's how it's supposed to be. Weeks passed in careful rhythm. School enrollment forms, doctor visits, counseling sessions where silence was allowed and crayons did the talking. Dash attended every meeting he was meant to, and none he wasn't. The system moved slowly, but it moved. At school, Luna learned she loved math. Sky discovered reading aloud made her brave. Their backpacks grew heavier with books and lighter with fear. One afternoon, Sky came home quiet. Too quiet. Dash waited. Do you want to talk? She nodded, then shook her head. A kid said we were lucky. Luna frowned, like it could go away. Dash considered this. Luck didn't make this happen. People did. And people can keep showing up. Sky looked at him, searching. Will you? Yes, Dash said. And if I can't be somewhere, I'll tell you. No disappearing. That night, they made a calendar together, check-in calls marked in blue school days, in green visits, in yellow. Predictability turned into color. Sky taped the calendar to the wall. "So we can see," exactly, Dash said. Later, Luna brought out the old cardboard sign, now dry and folded. She placed it on the table between them. "We don't need it," she said quietly. "But it helped." Dash nodded. "We'll keep it, as a reminder of what you never have to say again." Sky traced the words with her finger. "We don't cost much," Dash corrected gently, firmly. "You don't cost. You matter." They sat with that truth until it felt real. Outside, winter loosened its grip. Snow melted into memory. Inside, something steadier took root. A bridge made of paper rules and trust, strong enough to carry them forward together. The courthouse smelled like polished floors, and old paper, a place where voices softened themselves without being asked. Dash arrived early, coat folded over his arm, posture calm. He had learned that steadiness mattered more than confidence here. Luna and Sky waited in a family room down the hall with Mara and a counselor. They colored quietly, but their knees bounced in the same nervous rhythm. When Mara explained what would happen, who would speak, what questions might be asked, Luna nodded like she was memorizing steps to a dance. Inside the courtroom, the judge reviewed reports with care. School attendance, medical checkups, counseling notes, home inspections. Each page turned slowly, deliberately, like time itself had chosen caution. "Mr. Hawthorne," the judge said, looking up, "you understand that this placement comes with continued oversight?" "Yes," Dash replied, "as long as it's needed. And you're prepared for the uncertainty." Dash didn't hesitate. "I am." The judge glanced at the bench notes. Why, Dash took a breath. "Because children don't need certainty. They need adults who don't leave when things get hard." Silence followed, not heavy, just attentive. The ruling was measured, placement extended, continued supervision approved, review scheduled, not a finish line, a foundation. When Mara delivered the news to the twins, Sky asked the question that mattered most. "We still have helpers," "Yes," Mara said. "All of them." Luna looked at Dash. "And you?" "I'm still here," he said. Sky's shoulders dropped. Just a little, enough to matter. Outside, the city moved on cars, people, noise, but the twins walked slower, hands linked, absorbing the fact that nothing had been taken from them today. On the drive home, Luna pressed her forehead to the window. The judge talked like a grown-up who listens. Dash smiled. "That's the best kind." Sky added quietly, "I didn't have to promise anything." Dash glanced at them in the mirror. "Good. That promise is retired." The courthouse disappeared behind them, but the quiet it left, the kind built from careful listening, came with them. And for once, quiet felt safe. Spring crept in without asking permission. Snowbanks shrank. Trees tested green. The house adjusted windows, opened shoes lined up by habit, now not fear. Dash kept routines boring on purpose. Breakfast at 7, school at 8, homework at 4, cocoa on Fridays. Predictability became the softest luxury. One evening, Luna and Sky spread their drawings across the kitchen table. Houses with doors, suns in corners, stick figures with names. "This one's you," Sky said, pointing. "You're taller here." Dash chuckled. "Art is generous." Luna grew serious. "What if we mess up?" Dash set the dishes down. "Then we fix it. Together." They considered this like a theorem. Later, as dusk settled, Sky asked the question that had been circling for weeks. "Are we staying?" Dash chose truth over poetry. "We're staying in the plan that keeps you safe, and I'm staying in it with you." Luna nodded. "Plans don't disappear." "No," Dash said. "They get updated." That night, they taped the calendar for the next month on the fridge: school days, visits, check-ins, reviews. The future made visible. Before bed, Sky paused at the doorway, eyes shining. "We ate a lot today." Dash smiled. "You grew a lot too." She hesitated, then hugged him, brief, careful, real. Luna followed, arms firm around his waist, then stepped back like she'd crossed a bridge she'd been measuring for years. As Dash turned off the lights, he noticed the old cardboard sign tucked safely in a drawer, no longer needed, but not erased. Outside, the city breathed. Inside, the house held. It wasn't a rescue story. It was a staying story. And for Luna and Sky, and for the man who chose to see them, that made all the difference. Summer arrived quietly, without ceremony. The kind of arrival that didn't demand attention, but changed everything anyway. Windows stayed open longer. Shoes were abandoned by the door. Laughter, still cautious, still surprised by itself, found corners of the house it hadn't known before. Luna and Sky learned the rhythms of mornings that didn't hurry them out of fear. They learned which cabinets were theirs to open freely, which snacks didn't require permission slips written in shame. They learned that hunger was a signal, not a failing. Dash learned too. He learned how silence could mean comfort instead of absence. How questions asked twice weren't defiance but reassurance. How showing up on ordinary days mattered more than grand gestures on hard ones. On a warm evening, the three of them sat on the front steps watching fireflies flicker like cautious stars. Sky counted them under her breath. Luna leaned back against Dash's knee, not asking, just assuming he would be there. "Do you remember the park?" Luna asked suddenly. Dash nodded. "I do." Sky frowned, thinking. It was loud, cold. "That's a good way to put it," Dash said. They sat with the memory for a moment, not to revisit the hurt, but to place it somewhere it couldn't reach them anymore. Sky asked quietly, "Did we look small?" Dash chose his words carefully. "You looked brave, even when you shouldn't have had to be." Luna traced a line on the step with her finger. "We didn't know other words then." "What words?" Dash asked. She hesitated, then said it, the sentence that had once defined their worth. "We don't cost much." The night held still. Dash didn't rush to erase it. He knelt so they were eye level, the way he had that first night. But now the air between them was different. Warmer, safer. "You never have to say that again," he said softly. "Not to me, not to anyone." Sky tilted her head. "What do we say instead?" Dash smiled, not wide, not triumphant, just true. "You say what you need, and if you don't know the words yet, we find them together." They considered this. Later inside, Luna brought out a folded piece of cardboard from the drawer where it had lived untouched for months. The letters were still there, faint but legible. "We don't need it," she said, "but it helped us live." Dash nodded. Then it did its job. They didn't tear it up. They didn't throw it away. They placed it in a memory box with drawings, school photos, and a calendar page marked with their first full month together. Not a monument to pain, just proof of distance traveled. As bedtime came, Sky paused at the door, the way she used to, only now it was habit, not fear. "Good night," she said. "Good night," Dash answered. "I'm here." Luna added, half asleep already. "You always say that." Dash smiled into the dim. "Because it's always true." Weeks later, at a routine review meeting, the judge scanned reports and looked up with a small nod. "The children are thriving." Mara smiled. Detective Pike closed his notebook. Dash felt something settle in his chest. Not relief exactly, but recognition. This wasn't an ending. It was a continuation. That night, as the house slept, Dash stood by the window and watched the city lights glow, glass towers moving lives, a world that still missed too much. He knew there were other children, other nights, other cardboard signs waiting to be noticed. He couldn't save everyone, but he could stay. Down the hall, Luna and Sky slept with the door cracked open, the soft light spilling in, just the way they liked it. Their breaths were even. Their hands no longer clenched around anything meant to prove their worth. The cold had not won, and the words that once defined them, "we don't cost much," were finally, irrevocably retired. What remained was simpler, stronger, they mattered. Did this story move you? Share your thoughts in the comments and rate this story from 1 to 10. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell icon so you don't miss other heartwarming stories. Click on the last screen to see the next emotional chapter waiting for you. See you in the next story.